Have you ever wondered why it's so hard to think deeply anymore? Why every time you try to focus, something pulls you away? A notification, a message, an urge to check what everyone else is doing. You tell yourself you're just tired, busy, or overwhelmed, but deep down you feel it. Something inside you is slipping away. The ability to be still, to think for yourself, to feel in peace. This isn't your fault, it's by design. Because a distracted mind is a controlled mind. And right now, your mind is the most valuable territory on earth. In ancient times, wars were fought for land. Empires rose and fell over gold, oil, and power. But today's empire doesn't need to invade your country. It only needs to invade your attention, your focus, that small, invisible thread between what you think and what you believe has become the new currency of control. And while you scroll, argue, and consume, something ancient and vital inside you is dying. Your ability to think freely. Plato once wrote about a world of shadows, a cave where people sit chained, mistaking the flickering illusions on the wall for reality. But he said that the moment one person escapes and sees the truth, they're blinded, terrified, and hated by those still inside. That's the internet today. We've built a digital cave so vast, so hypnotic, that most people will never even realize they're prisoners. The shadows are now algorithms, perfectly tuned to your fears, your insecurities, your desires. They learn you better than you know yourself. They don't need chains. They use dopamine. And once you're hooked, you'll defend your illusions as if they're truth. Think about it. When was the last time you truly chose what you paid attention to? Not what the feed showed you, not what everyone was talking about, but something you decided was worth your time? Most people never do, because the system doesn't want thinkers. It wants consumers. Aldous Huxley saw this coming decades ago. He warned that the future wouldn't be ruled by tyranny, but by pleasure, that people would come to love their own servitude, that we'd drown not in pain, but in distraction. And here we are. We laugh at the old dictators who censored information, not realizing our era doesn't need censorship. It just buries truth beneath endless entertainment. But why? Why would the system want you distracted, numb, and endlessly scrolling? Because a distracted person doesn't rebel. A distracted person doesn't ask questions. A distracted person doesn't notice that the world is quietly being reshaped without their consent. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He wrote that the clever ruler doesn't rule by fear or cruelty, but by diversion. Give the people small pleasures, small freedoms, small victories, and they'll never realize how much they've lost. So today, you get likes instead of love, followers instead of friends, content instead of connection. And somehow, it all feels empty, because deep down, it is. The truth is, distraction is not just stealing your time, it's stealing your soul. Because every time you choose noise over silence, you lose a piece of your inner world, that quiet space where real thought, emotion, and creativity are born. Nietzsche called it the desert within. He warned that the modern man will become so overstimulated, so obsessed with comfort and speed, that he'd lose the ability to confront himself. He'd fill every empty moment with noise, because silence forces you to meet the person you've been avoiding, yourself. That's the real reason you reach for your phone the second you feel bored or anxious, because silence exposes the truth, and truth demands change. But here's the uncomfortable part. The system doesn't need to enslave you if you willingly participate. You give your data away. You share your thoughts, your habits, your emotions. You scroll through curated outrage, thinking you're staying informed, while being emotionally programmed to think and feel exactly as designed. Bonhoeffer called this the collective stupidity of society, when individuals lose their capacity for independent thought and absorb the logic of the herd. He said stupidity wasn't a lack of intelligence, but a moral failing, the refusal to think critically when thinking feels uncomfortable. And he was right, because it's easier to join the outrage than to ask, who benefits from this? Here's the tragic irony. The more connected we become, the more disconnected we feel. We've built the greatest communication system in human history, and yet, loneliness has never been higher. We chase validation through screens, hoping for meaning in numbers that can never love us back. We perform instead of live. We signal instead feel. And slowly, our inner lives wither away, until we become strangers to our own thoughts. The philosopher Erich Fromm said modern man lives in existential schizophrenia, divided between what he truly feels and what society expects him to be. We wear masks, not to deceive others, but to survive among them. And that's the quiet tragedy of our age. We've become so good at pretending, we've forgotten who we were before the pretending began. So what do you do? How do you fight back against a system that profits from your distraction? You don't fight it with rage or violence. You fight it with awareness. You start by reclaiming your attention, your most sacred resource. You sit in silence and remember what it feels like to simply be. You read deeply. You think slowly. You question everything that tries to hijack your emotions. Because that's what true rebellion looks like in this age. Stillness. In a culture addicted to noise, silence is revolutionary. Understand this. The system fears the thinker. It fears the calm mind. It fears the person who can no longer be manipulated through fear, guilt, or desire. That's why wisdom feels like a curse today. Because the moment you start to see clearly, the illusion falls apart. You can't unsee the manipulation. You can't go back to being comfortably blind. But awareness, though painful, is freedom. It gives you the power to choose what no system can ever take, your inner life. So maybe the goal isn't to fix the world right now. Maybe it's to protect the last honest part of yourself, the part that still hungers for truth, beauty, and meaning. Don't numb that part of you. Don't drown it in noise. Feed it with silence, with depth, with solitude. Because when this age of distraction finally collapses under its own emptiness, it will be the quiet ones, the thinkers, the observers, the seekers, who will rebuild what was lost. I shall say to you, the world doesn't need more opinions. It needs awareness. It needs you, fully awake, fully present, and unafraid to see things as they are. So the next time you feel the pull of the screen, the outrage, the endless noise, pause. Breathe. Remember that the war isn't out there. It's in your mind. And the moment you choose awareness over distraction, you've already won. Please like and subscribe for more.